Hello and welcome back to module number 3. I'm going to split the module. I'm going to talk about design in another video, and then I'm going to talk about, in this module, I'm going to talk about JavaScript and variables and much more. So I'm going to cover quite a lot of background. And again, I just want to remind you, this is an online textbook that you can start reading it, copy the variables or copy the code and be able to play with that, as I'm going to do with my PowerPoint, which is quite a lot. This PowerPoint has 110 slides. I know it's a lot. I'm not going to cover the entire 110 slide. You're going to do it by yourself, but it's a resource, and this is what I want you to have in order for us to continue. As I told you, I am very keen that everyone will read the syllabus, understand that because this is a summer session, we have a shorter time, and as a result, a lot of pressure will put on you to finish up JavaScript, move on to the PHP, and then move to the database. Again, the whole point is that you can do it with those resources that I gave you. So let's start with the JavaScript and continue from there. So variables. In JavaScript, I know that some of you already took basic to C++ and Java. The idea of variables, it is storage of data values. For example, X and Y and Z are example of variables, and they contain some data values that we want to manipulate or to add or to do some execution to those variables in order for us to do that. But the issue with JavaScript, and in particular JavaScript in combination with HTML, is that they need to run together. So in this case, I'm going to establish what is my variable. As you can see, variable x is equal to 5, variable y is equal to 6. Now I add the syntax of the JavaScript that will say to me document get element, and I will say what I need him to do. In this case, x plus y, and it will provide me the sign of the two variables together, and I am closing the script that I am running the JavaScript in order for me to do that, and in the result it will give me the value which is equal to 11. So in this case, again, the issue is how to embed the JavaScript into the HTML. As all of you already know, the HTML is just a cover-up. It is not the real thing when we are talking about programming or simple programming in HTML. Another thing that I want to remind you is that identifiers. In all JavaScript variables, you have to have unique names. Those unique names are called identifiers. And identifiers can be short as X or Y, or example, age, sum, or total value, in order for us to generate something more meaningful. So the name must contain letters or digits or underscore and even dollar signs. This is a very unrestricted language, JavaScript. And it can have an effect because if you have a long script where you're going to have multiple variables, you need to have at least, I used to have a notepad that says what is entailed in those variables. So the assign operators is that can be equal or can be assigned, and it can allow us to do basic algebra equation. Example, x equal x plus 5, and it will make more sense when we are doing x plus 5 to 5, and it will give us a sense what we're doing with this equation and in regard to the programming. So in this case, P1 is equal 3.14. The second variable is John Doe, and the answer, yes, I am. So what's going on here? So again, I want you to recognize what is the variables and how do I use the variables in that sense. So in this case, I'm going to call document get element into this idea, and it will give me the idea what is it entail. So the strings are written with quotes, but the numbers are without quotes. So in this case, we can create on the fly variables, and variables are declaring the variable. So you declare a JavaScript variable with a var, which is var car name, or after declaration, the variable will be empty. There is no value, and you can assign on the fly a variable name. Example, car name Volvo. So you can assign a value to the variable when you declare it. So let me show you how to do that with regard to JavaScript. So the verb car name is Volvo, and in this case, I will call the car value, and it's going to allow us to display Volvo, even though I did not declare it one by one with that. But I want you to see the syntax on it. Because Volvo is a name, it's not a number, it has to come with a quotation. So in this case, it will display the Volvo in this result. One statement, many variables, and this is something that again you will encounter many times. So you can declare many variables in one statement, and you're going to start the statement with a var and separate it by comma. So the person name John Doe, the car name Volvo, and the price is 200. And so we have here basically 3 variables that we need to display. So how do we do that? So again, we call for the 3 variables, as you can see it in my PowerPoint slide, and we are going to call it car name in order for us to do that. So you may declare many variables in one statement, and again, you can redeclare a JavaScript variable with it will not lose its value. So again, this is something that is really important to remember, that redeclaring in JavaScript is a little bit different from C++ or Java in this sense. And again, the issue of the car name and how to assign a variable to it if it will not be lost. So with regard to algebra, we can do some basic summary of the variables like and plus. So variable x, I will say 5 plus 2 plus 3, and he will be able to add that by allowing us to do that. So I'm asking the variable x to represent the summary of the calculation that I am doing with the variables. So x in this case will be 5 plus 2 plus 3, and it will display that it is equal to 10. And I want you to go back to understand the structure, that how I compose this statement and how I compose that in JavaScript. So again, I can assign value to variable and add them together, and I can add them like in a different set. Example, in this case, there's 3 variables, x, y, and z. And so all together, it will give me the Z, will give me the summary of X and Y. And so in this case, it will be equal 7. And again, look at how the procedure that I took in order for me to reach that, and something that I think it's a good practice to have, especially with JavaScript. So with regard to summary, this is a summary of the notes that you need to remember. In this case, I use the plus to summarize, and I can do division, or I can do other calculation in order for me to show what it is entail. Again, x multiplied by y equals z. I will display the z, and in this case, that's what will happen. I can also do a percentage, and this is again the idea of the two variables, x and the percentage of y, and it will give me the result, which will be equal 1. Again, the same ideas with a different ability to use different calculation in order for us to apply that, and I try to illustrate that throughout, and I want you to go over that. I want you to have better sense what does it entail when we do that with criminate or decriminate, and how to apply that in this case. So assigning operators is also key in the JavaScript. And again, this is something really important because my area or my passion in life is open source R. And in open source R, we use those assignments or operators all the time. And I want you to become familiar with that when you're going to apply different programming language in order for you to display that. This is part of the assignment operator that the JavaScript accepts, and you need to work with that in order to display it as the web. One of the things that we need to start talking again and again is the string operator. We will talk about that in the PHP quite a lot. It has a lot of similarity when we are talking about the PHP programming. But in JavaScript, the string store a series of characters, but it can also be any text inside double or single quotes. So the plus operator can be used to add a string, or you can use the operator to call the string inside of it. So text 1 is what a very, text 2 is nice day, and text 3 is text 1 plus text 2. So the result will be what a very nice day. So how do I apply that into JavaScript? And I want you to look very closely to the syntax. This is what will kill you or give you a heart attack. The quotation in text is double quotation. Remember that. It's not like when you are using numbers, when you don't need the quotation. In text, we need the quotation in order for us to display that. And in this case, I'm declaring that I want to display the text 1 plus text 2 in order for us to result in that, in order for us to add a string to result that what a very nice day. So we talked about variables. We talked about have the same meaning as in algebra. Another name of a variable can be identifier. And this is something that our textbooks sometimes get confused or sometimes missed out. And I want to declare that so you will have an easy reading of the textbook. In this case, we are using the var as our declaration in the JavaScript. The type of data or the type of dates, we are talking about string and numbers. Now we are moving towards if condition. And I'm sure that most of you already learned in other programming language about the if condition. So this is something that is the foundation of any programming language. So if condition is the if condition, if else, else if else, and the switch. I will go over each single one of them, but again, I want you to have a condition or understanding of it in order for you to, when you look at JavaScript, you will see that they entail some form of conditions in order for us to operate. So, if condition and the statement, it is the main condition statement in the JavaScript. The keyword is the if, which always appear in the lowercase. The condition holds a logical true or false value, and the condition is true, the statement then will be executed. So in this case, I'm calling for the if statement. And so I'm going to operate with the increase the speed of the script. And in this case, this is what I'm doing. So I have if, and I have the document, and I have the script itself. So the if else is a condition statement, else the statement come out, which is the cause if the if statement that you want to execute, some statement of the condition are false or is false. So in this case, I'm going to put some conditions. 3 is bigger than 2. Alert true, else it's false. So again, this is something that is always in our mind when we are working with the if condition. The substitute for a single if-else statement. So the else-if statement goes like that. If a condition or statement, and if else if the condition statement, else the condition. So you basically test multiple expression in one true value and execute a particular block of code in order for us to do that. In the case of if else, again the same scenario, but again the two if here that we are running. The first if is in yellow, the second if is in orange, and together f else in the lower case. So again, another example of the if condition is the switch, and it allowed us to merge several tasks into one variable, and it allowed us to apply that. So again, this is how I work with my switch statement and how to apply that. We also talk about a looping statement. And the idea of a looping is that we are trying to loop the if condition for another condition. So for the loops, we can have for and in, or while, or do while, or break, or continue. So for the statement, in this case, we are going to say internal expression, and we are going to do exchange in order for us to have a statement. So one of the most used and familiar loops is for the loop itself. So it illustrates that we are trying to control the number of conditions, and we are trying to determine how much has been added or subtracted for the counter variable. So in this case, we counter 1, we counter smaller than 10, and we counter plus plus. So the idea here is that we are going to display a sequence of numbers that answer those conditions of the for statement. And so in this case, this is the number that we will encounter. For in statement, the same thing that goes on into that by using the for and in statement as part of our injunctions into the what goes on into the statement in order for us to make a real statement or control what we have. So I give you an example of that, and in this case, Chinese, English, Jap, and what goes on here. So let's look. The variable book. What is the difference if the variable book? And we are going to give array of languages, Chinese, English, and Japanese. So the issue here is for the 4 is the variable counter in the book list, and the book plus is equal book list counter, and I'm leaving it plus and I'm leaving it open. So it will give me alert if with regard to the language that it is chosen. So this is the part of the statement that is might undefined or defined, and this is the result. Another statement that we will need to talk we will talk about that quite often in the PHP is the while condition. And the while loop begins with the determination condition and keep the looping until it met the condition that we are set. So the idea here is that we are trying to see if there is a match by using those statements. So in this case, we are counting 100. We are going to counter from 0, and we are going to say number and the counter, and he's going to give us the breakdown of each numbers in order for us to do that. This is the part of the idea. Do while has the same idea with what is the loop execute, and again, I highly recommend to you to read chapter 2 in our textbook. This is really the essence. What I want you to do is to create the first variable using the JavaScript, and you can actually copy and paste the chapter, the example he provide, and use that in that condition. So if bottom is clicked, then close the pop-up box, or if I touch the ball, then the game is over. Those are conditions that usually we are doing that, and in JavaScript we usually use that, and we do that in an if statement and how to execute that in that sense. So I'm trying to give you an example that you have the PowerPoint to take and test it without your experience, without your taking the time to apply that. I don't see you will lose this essence. If we were face to face, probably my techniques or my teaching instructions will be different. But because you are by yourself, I want you to use the PowerPoint as your resource. Use the textbook online as an additional resource to confirm and to understand what is the statement, what if the if statement is, how it's execute, if it's true or not, if it's not true, what will happen, and how to do that. So again, a simple example, if the if condition inside the HTML, you're going to say if a new date get hours smaller than 18, and you will get a smile. So again, the same syntax, the same ideas going to the if, else, and how to execute. And again, this is what in another example, GPA. I know all of you are really concerned about GPA, so alert, good job, you have a cookie, alert, no cookies for you. And again, this is how you imply that into the HTML. So I try to break it down. I try to make it as concise as possible. The if statement flow chart, again, to make sure that you understand that, because you're going to see that quite often in more advanced JavaScript and how to do that. Again, the code with the with the HTML. This is the first example of the assignment. Again, this is my example. Please do not copy it one by one. Modify it. I have no problem. You will modify it and change it. I post my example in my website in module number 2. Try to understand, try to work with that in order for you to do that. I'm not going to go over the expression. You're going to do it by yourself, but this is really important. What is in expression in JavaScript? What does it entail? How to modify it? And what is it the method of the string, in touch with that. You will finish it by yourself. Again, ask questions. Your job is to ask questions, and you have quite a lot to catch up and see the example that I show and how to do that. And so I will not continue on and on and on, but I will let you have the PowerPoint, go over that, use the textbook to show what is it entail, how to do that, how it operates, so you have all the materials necessary for you to be successful. Otherwise, ask questions and open up in order for me to help you. Until next time, I hope you enjoy that. Don't forget, there is a second video about the design element of HTML where I teach you how to use Dreamweaver and how to apply design element into it. Until next time, have fun, enjoy 4th of July, and I will see you next week. Bye.